there's a lot I could say about the man I'm honored to introduce today, but it's going to be very short. You know him as a friend. I know him as a friend. We know him as a leader, and we know him as the county executive of Westchester County. But in about 60 days, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to know him as the governor-elect in New York State, Rob Astorino.
Kevin had that laser eye surgery. Doesn't he look so much smarter? What's wrong with you people? You can get eggs for like $10 at the diner. Thank you for coming. I really do appreciate it. We are now marching into the home stretch. It's hard to imagine when we began this journey unofficially in January and officially on March 5th that we've got less than 65 days to go before the election. And yesterday I debated what may be my opponent, I don't know, Zephyr Teachout, who was running a primary on Tuesday against Mr. Cuomo. And if you don't think he's nervous, trust me, he is. She is a real interesting person. You know, she is very far left. There's no really room on the left between her and she's Occupy Wall Street left. But she is principled, and he's not. I mean, she stands for something. He stands for nothing. So the activists in that party are the ones that are going to vote. And at a very low turnout, I think she's going to do much better than people anticipate, which is good for us. And just a little history on this. In 1994, when Mario Cuomo was running against George Pataki, what people forget, I don't think Tim Carey, who's here, is going to forget this, but Mario Cuomo had a primary. Little-known challenger. Nobody really thought about it. But she got 20% of the vote, which was seen as a little bit of an embarrassment to Mario Cuomo. And she got 140,000 votes. Guess what Pataki won by? He won by 120,000 votes. So those people who came out in the Democratic Party and voted against their governor stayed home on election day. And it's our hope and anticipation that the activists in the Democratic Party who are absolutely opposed to Andrew Cuomo will also, if they can't vote for me, will absolutely not vote for him and either stay home or vote for somebody else, which is a huge win for us. You've got a lot of things happening under the radar that I think you deserve to know because you're here. But it'll never show up in the polls. It'll never be reported by the reporters who have no clue what's going on in this race, by the way. And this race, as I've said before, is so eerily similar to 2009 right here in Westchester, when Andy Spano had a 30-point lead at the end of the summer. And he outspent us 5-1, and nobody gave us a shot. And even on election day, or the weekend before, we were down 11 points in the polls. And as you know, we won by 13. So a lot happens in the fall as people start understanding what's going on and paying attention. And we are going up on TV starting next week. It'll be the beginning of the campaign, if you will, for the public to understand who we are and why we're the alternative to Andrew Cuomo. And I don't know if you've seen his latest ad, but I think Freud calls it projection. He has the audacity to say we're corrupt, when there's only one person running for governor who happens to be the governor who is under investigation by federal prosecutors. So we're going to make sure people understand what's happening in Albany, how that corruption affects all of us, because it does. That corruption is being paid for not by his buddies or the people who get the breaks. Being paid for by everybody in this room. It's being paid for by average New Yorkers. That's why taxes go up. That's why the economy stinks. That's why businesses are leaving. That's why people are leaving. Because it's not a fair state anymore. Not for most people. So, when the polls come out, And when they tell you it's a big commanding lead for the governor, can't be won. He'll win it's just by a matter of how much. You know what? In a strange way, some of that's very helpful to us. Because as long as New York City thinks there's no election, they'll stay home. And I'm okay with that. Here's the real interesting thing. Now, if you don't think that Andrew Cuomo knows that this is going to be a close race, just turn on your TV. And if you've seen the ads he's running against me, there's a reason for that. He has spent already close to $14 million in pure negative and false ads against us. But he's done that because he understands the polls, as we know the polls, but as the public polls have it wrong, because they're doing it very differently. They're basing this election on a presidential model and a presidential turnout. That's not what happens this year. Who votes and where they vote is very important. And we know who votes, and we know where they vote. And so does Cuomo. So when you look at this race, yeah, it's true, about 50% of the state doesn't have an opinion of me yet, or doesn't know who I am yet. And that's our objective over the next 60-something days, to let them know who we are. So the default is, well, I guess I'll vote for Cuomo. But there's zero passion for Andrew Cuomo in the polls and anywhere we go. But here's the real news, and this is what Cuomo knows, and this is why he's here. For the 50% of the people who do know me and do know Cuomo and have an opinion of me and Cuomo in this state, right now it's an 8-point race. And people understand that the governor's under prosecution, not yet, but under federal prosecutors who are looking at him. It's a very, very tight race. So he realizes that we can win this in this kind of year, where even the president, who has a 37% approval rating in New York, is hurting him. And where Democratic voters are not motivated, where Republican voters are very motivated. And he knows that half the votes come from upstate, where if anyone's been upstate, that's all you see is our signs. It's a very different state. The battleground is really going to come down to 3 places. It's going to come to Nassau, Suffolk, and right here, Westchester. And if we can win Westchester, where we've lost once in 2005 in a closer race than people thought, but have won twice in 09 and 13 by 13 points with a lot of Democratic support. If we hold that, if we win Westchester, we win, period. We win the race. So we need to run almost a separate county executive race again here in Westchester, because we've got to make sure our voters come out. The Democrats who have voted for us twice stick with us because they know us best. And if we do well in Westchester, we're going to be fine. So what I'm saying is, don't take Westchester for granted. We're not. We need to make sure people understand that what we've done here and why we were reelected is what we want to do in Albany. So it's going to be incumbent upon all of you to be the surrogates, because I'm spending a lot of time where I need to be in this state. And I've seen every rest stop on I-90 and I-87 and know them all well. But you know what? Unlike candidates in the past who just take 90 to Buffalo and Syracuse and Albany and go home, we're actually getting off and we're going into communities, small communities, and talking to people. And it's a very different state, and a lot of people are hurting in this state. So it's there to win. I want you to know that this race is there to win. And it's going to get real aggressive. It's going to get real loud. It might get ugly over the next 60-something days. But we're not going to let this guy waltz in for another term without the biggest fight of his life, whether he debates or not. So I just want to say thank you for coming this morning. Thank you for all that you have done along the way and what you will do. I know many people here are helping in big ways and small, whether on phone banks, or whether it's just talking to your neighbors or putting lawn signs up. That's meaningful. And just keep the chatter up over the next 65 days to all of your neighbors. That's how we won it twice. That's how we'll win it again. And we can be making a real big history in this state, because nobody is expecting us to win in the press and in the elite that thinks they know everything, but they have no clue what's going on in the state. So, thank you. Let's pull off the biggest shocker. I hope to see you on election night, and we're going to have election night at the Crown Plaza in White Plains instead of New York City where they always do it. This is home. This is where everyone is that I love. This is where everyone who is really putting in the effort is. So I want it to be right here in Westchester for the big victory night at the Crown Plaza. So thanks so much, everybody.